1 minute.
Gives them where to take their seat.
We will continue with the general comment. We will now continue with the general comments.
Okay, we have Wilson Mateos and Anthony Bulris.
Missing a beat.
Good afternoon, people of the board. My name is Anthony Bulris. I am a student at Suncoast Polytechnical High School and a dual enrollment student at STC. Our school and our community that we've built is in jeopardy if this merger goes through. Everything that makes SPHS so special is the tightness between the students. In my time at SPHS, I've gained 3 siblings in found family, and these bonds will be destroyed if we all get moved around the county. I do not believe that this can be rebuilt from the ground up at a different school. As shown in human history, location impacts community. As stated frequently, location. And if you think that just moving the students will work, I can tell you with certainty that you will demolish everything my community has built. We have emotional ties to the building. We will never get another leg. We can just walk around when we get stressed. The motivational, heartfelt moments shared as a class through our gatherings before our nerve-wracking AP tests, which over 75% of our student body are enrolled in, and then absolutely crushing those exams. I personally got a 5 on the AP World exam, and it's all due to the amazing teachers at Polytech, some of whom are outside of Sarasota. And we are in the top 5% of schools, 403rd ranked nationally. If you move us, we will get rocked like any other school could have been chosen, but a school in the top 5% is on the chopping block. Why us? Why us, I ask. What will you do about parking, about our CTEs, about EPs that some of us depend on to get into college? You didn't give any direct plans of action. To anyone here, these issues affect us as students more than anyone here. I ask, as a representative of my peers, what will happen to dual enrollment students at colleges inside and outside of SDC? My opportunities as a SDC student could be in jeopardy. I also implore you to reconsider. As SPHS has some of the lowest bullying rates out of any school I've ever attended. What about our community? Our community is a bastion of acceptance and maturity. If we get mixed in with Brookside, all of those benefits, all of those characteristics that made me want to come to SPHS.
Thank you.
Ava Dawson and Katie Knowles.
Hello, members of the school board. My name is Ava Dawson. I am a Polytech student, and I dual enroll at STC in the automotive program. As Spectre Robotics Vice President, I hold a lot of responsibility both for my team and also for the members of my school. Transitioning the second school in the county, and only to the #1 school in the state, by the way, would abolish the bright futures that our school board claims to be about. Students who have prior dreamed to be doctors, nurses, engineers, designers, coders, etc., will be driven on a different, lower track path if we are transitioned between a middle school and a high school in that combined sense. Students apply to Polytech knowing that they will be given the chance and support to be led through programs that are already built up with our labs, with our facilities. We are so blessed to share the facilities between SDC and the Fab Lab, where students can build, create, and volunteer. Along with the lost resources, there's also the impact of the class sizes and the scheduling. I was at first zoned for Venice High and transitioned over to Polytech for the robotics and for the lower class sizes, along with the block scheduling. Block scheduling allows for more in-depth classes with more involved teachers and more activities, which allows for more productive learning experiences, which has very much helped, I know, me and so many of my fellow space students. Shuffling students and family around not only weakens the bonds that students have with their teachers and their fellow peers, it also takes away from the resources that we have between all of our programs that have already been built. It's shuffling students and faculty around, shifting them around in games of political and money-making agendas, which just create mass destruction for our futures that could be held up by leaving Polytech.
Thank you.
Katie Knowles, and then Cindy Efron.
Good morning, or good afternoon, school board members and superintendent. My name is Katie Knowles. I'm currently in dual enrollment for machining and take 4 AP classes. I'm speaking today as a student coming from Suncoast Polytechnical High School, and I believe relocating to Brookside School is a wrong move for both the schools and the Sarasota County students. Suncoast Polytech isn't a typical high school. It was purposely built next to Suncoast Technical College so students can walk between their high school classes and college-level labs every day. Multiple times, in fact. That partnership is what makes our program work. Moving it off that campus, you're not just changing the address. You're dismantling the model that made us the second high school in the county and 31st in the state. While Brookside is a strong middle school with its own identity, serving grades 6 through 8 and offering IB programs, it was never designed to house a high school magnet program that depends on engineering, robotics, fab labs, block schedules, dual enrollment, and parking for 300 plus. I don't envy your decision to deal with a low attendance school. However, SPHS is not a low attendance school. Instead of forcing a relocation with your upcoming November vote, let's protect what already works. Keep SPHS co-located with Suncoast Technical College and invest in Brookside's existing IB program and make a landmark magnet middle school for Sarasota County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, school board members and Superintendent Connor. My name is Cindy Efron, and I live in Nokomis. And I'm here today to share my concerns about the proposed merger of Suncoast Polytechnical High School with Brookside Middle School. I moved here in 2018 after retiring as an elementary school principal secretary in Illinois. I was hired by Suncoast Polytechnical High School that year as the front desk receptionist. Polytech is a school like no other in Sarasota County. With a cap of 600 students, 150 students per grade, this application-only school attracts the best and the brightest. The level of academic achievement there is boundless. SPHS takes pride in its 100% graduation rate. With a wide range of AP classes, many students are eligible for the prestigious capstone diploma. The Renegades hold the title of academic Olympic champions, and Polytech also houses a full engineering lab. Sharing a campus with Suncoast Technical College allows SPHS students to earn industrial certifications through their career and technical education. Students have direct access to a commercial kitchen, state-of-the-art machine tools, automotive shop, marine mechanic shop, and more. The smaller student body allows for a much more intimate high school experience, where pretty much every student knows one another. More importantly, Polytech is a safe place, especially for young people who might otherwise get swallowed up in a 2,000 plus student school. Kids who would get lost at a larger high school not only get the special attention they need, but they feel safe from the things that plague traditional high schools, particularly bullying, which is one of the main reasons they choose to attend Polytech. Please, please don't take this away. Thank you.
Thank you.
India Miller, and then Summer DeLauro.
I'm India Miller, and I do want to do a shout out for Polytech School. I've never met these kids, but they seem really freaking amazing to me. And I think we need more of whatever's happening there. I want to speak about schools of hope and my lack of faith in the majority vote of this board to deal with this stuff. Schools of hope are predatory, they are profiteering, they are parasitic. We literally are taking McDonald's and recording Burger King to let them have a space on their burgers inside of it for free, and we'll cover all the costs. I can't believe we're even entertaining this. It's insane. Our public schools matter. I'm really concerned in some of the ethics involved with the school board, the conflicts of interest that some of your partners have, the personal attacks that people that speak out suffer in our personal lives, the lies that some of you have told about the attacks. I'm looking at you, Karen, because you posted in the Venice Gondolier that you not post me on your personal Facebook saying I never posted a transgender. First of all, it's a transgender human, transgender woman, transgender man, transgender person. It's not a transgender. Secondly, Bridget, why are you here? Every school board member unanimously asked you to leave, and you're still here. Is it because your husband is setting up Turning Point USA all throughout the U.S., grifting off of the legacy of this gentleman that passed away so tragically? The ethics involved in coming back to a position that you've been voted out of, Karen Rose. Really, just the morality of that decision. They asked you, hey, I want you to come back when the voters said, we don't want you. And to be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Ethically, that's a good decision. And Robin, you supported all of this all along. Lockstep, partisan. It's really just unacceptable to me what is happening here. And I want Sarasota to show up at the school boards, even though you're making them less accessible. People are going to come. We've had enough. Some of you should.
Summer DeLauro and Holly Bullard. Summer. Holly. Nope. Adriano. Cholino. Nope. Donna Jones. Franklin Boyer.
I'm a senior at Polytech. I want to start by saying I love and appreciate every single person in this room. I also want to say that this plan for Polytech and Brookside to merge is abysmally horrible. It's intended to prevent the schools of Bill from taking over Brookside and Polytech, citing apparent underutilization of both schools. Polytech is not suffering from underutilization. We've sent thousands of graduates with specialized knowledge and skills to become incredible blue-collar workers like nurses, electricians, engineers, mechanics, firefighters, chefs, and more. And we've sent hundreds to colleges to become scientists, historians, and doctors. Schools that were initially built to be 6 to 12 are often dysfunctional and have trouble dealing with maturity from the middle schoolers' side. And forcing hundreds of high schoolers from the number 2 school in the county to live amongst Brookside middle students is monumentally worse. Removing the block schedule from Polytech removes one of the best things about my school. This system allows for CTE programs, dual enrollment, and it's been the system that has allowed teachers to build their curriculum around for upwards of a decade or more. And alongside the larger commute, alongside having far less resources than before, how do you expect teachers to make that change, even if they keep their jobs? Moving all of Polytech's programs, including all of the resources and tools that exist at SPHS and STC, would be a multi-million-dollar endeavor. Where are you getting this money? By moving Polytech to Brookside, you are destroying the work of thousands of people who've developed their curriculums, their skills in the classroom, the tools of all of these programs, and more. By moving Polytech to Brookside, you are destroying a community that's existed for nearly 18 years. You are destroying our home.
Thank you.
Ada Oberly. And then Gwendolyn Precourt.
My name is Ada Oberly. I'm a junior at SPHS and I'm currently risking expulsion from my nursing program to be here today. Yet I believe I speak on behalf of all my peers in saying that we are tired of promises. Last night, in response to a serious question in regards to the policy jeopardizing essential after-school activities, Superintendent Connor gave a vague and unacceptable answer that included no discussion of actual policy or budget, and instead made an empty promise to the students of Suncoast that he would not only fix things, but make things better. Yet you are not even capable of installing a single metal detector at my school. Not even capable of organizing buses to shift school starts later. And yet you say you will not only make my school the same, but better. Everything that was told to Polytech students yesterday was nothing but shallow demagogy, and my peers and I have had enough, now that our education, time, college, and mental health are all at risk. The board has the audacity to suggest that we increase class size without understanding the damage that it does to Polytech. Polytech is an elite institution whose standards should not be lowered because the board decides that we need to increase the amount of people who attend. As well, enlarging class sizes will do nothing for me but make me a statistic. At Polytech, I am Ada Oberly, but now with this enlargement, I'm not sure that my administrator will even be able to remember my name. At Polytech the way it is, I feel safe. Polytech is a safe space for students like me. I remember telling my mother that SPHS is the first school that I have ever been genuinely excited to go to, the first school I have felt safe at. And yet now, you are trying to take that from me. I urge the board to reconsider and allow for, if not an entire redraw of this plan, but a compromise that truly encapsulates what students, parents, and administration want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gwendolyn, and then Joden.
Hello, my name is Gwendolyn Precourt. I'm a junior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School. SPHS is one of the top 5% of Florida schools based on test scores, and 78% of students participate in AP classes. Our school was created to make sure that hardworking and high-achieving students were brought into a school of opportunity and brighter futures. I find it disappointing that the school board is making this situation sound like it is already set in stone. It makes it look as though you are not listening to what the students, parents, and staff of SPHS are saying when we speak to you about this situation and our concerns. I feel as though the school board should not be making this situation that was not ours to begin with. We did nothing to show the school board that we needed to be relocated for the benefit of another school. I understand the school board's desires to expand what we experience at Polytech other families, but solving two problems at the same time will not benefit the community like they think. In theory, it might make sense to open these STEM opportunities to younger kids, but the middle school students that would be attending this school would not be able to benefit from our more advanced programs until they've reached high school levels anyways. Can you imagine a middle schooler being in an automotive class or a middle schooler learning cosmetology? I would not want a middle schooler to cut my hair. In my opinion, the school board should have looked at this situation differently by maybe adding programs to an already existing Brookside Middle School, or put this into effect in 4 years when the existing students graduate with what they were promised when they signed up to pick Polytech over any other school. I look around this room and see students from my school that I've grown up with now for entering 3 years, and I'm able to see how far they've come to achieve their dream futures that were promised to them. I hope the school board knows they are messing with America's future by affecting our education and can see the unfairness that this situation brings to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Gwendolyn. Oh, she's not there. Okay. Jordani Del Rosario. She's not there.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordani Del Rosario, and I'm a Pride Junior at Booker High School. And I'm here today as a student who truly cares about this school district and the direction it's heading. I'm here today to talk about one decision that has left many of us students feeling left out and unheard. Recently, the time change for the school board meetings was changed to 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. On paper, it might seem like not a big deal, but in practice, it completely changes who gets to be part of the conversation. At 10 a.m., we are in class, learning, taking tests, doing what we're supposed to be doing as students. We can't just leave school to come here, even when the topics being discussed directly impacts our daily lives. The 6 p.m. meeting time allowed us and many working parents to be involved, to sit in these seats, listen, and speak. That opportunity mattered to us. It gave us a chance to see democracy in action, to see how decisions are made, and to have a voice in the process. Moving meetings to 10 a.m. takes that away from us. It limits participation to these who are able to step away from work or school, and that's not fair or representative of the full community. We're the ones living through the outcomes of the meetings, the ones walking the hallways, sitting in the classrooms, feeling the effects of every policy and change. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for access. We are asking to be seen and heard as the people most affected by these decisions. That's not an unfair choice to put any student. Education should teach us to speak up, to participate, and to be active citizens. For that to happen, meetings need to be accessible. If this schedule stays the same at the November 18th meeting, don't be surprised if you see more students showing up in different ways, because we care. We care enough to find ways to make our voices heard, even when it's not as easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keller Bolin, followed by Lily Guerrero.
Hello, my name is Keller Bolin. I'm a junior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School, and ever since 4 years ago when I first toured the school, I knew that this is where I wanted to spend the next 4 years of life. I was shown the amazing facilities that we had access to through STC and the amazing opportunities I would have to further improve my skills and to develop my future. And now you are threatening to rip that out of my hands for your own personal benefit. You want to turn my school, the thing that gives us our identity, into apartment space for your own personal gain. And we will not stand for that. That is why so many students from Suncoast have ditched school today to come here. And one of the main reasons I came to school was the robotics program. And 3 years ago, we placed in the top 12 at the Orlando Regionals. We were only able to do that because of the resources provided by the STC labs and by our own campus. We would not have access to those resources or move to Booker. Moving to Booker would further strip us of resources that we have access to now, and we won't be able to do what we're able to do now. We won't be able to develop the skills that we have developed. And I just want to say that this is in ignorance and ignorance of the public need and what we want as the public. Because nobody has given no students or parents have spoken up and given support for this. All that we have seen were people coming up here and speaking out against this. Not one person has shown actual support or has wanted this to happen. The 6 through 12 model has been proven to not be as effective as this. We are a top 5% school in the nation for a reason. And you are threatening to jeopardize our very status as an elite school for your own personal gain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lily, followed by Bill Hayes.
Hello, my name is Lily Guerrero. I'm a senior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School. I'd like to start off by saying that your decision to have this meeting at 10 a.m., a time that restricts students and teachers from coming, is disgraceful, and it's clear that you don't value our opinions by doing so, especially when this issue affects us, students and teachers, the most. My peers and I are completely and utterly disgusted by your proposal to merge Brookside and SPHS. Not to mention, you are ruining any future hope for students wishing to attend the school in the future, such as my younger brother. This merge will only result in more profit for you and decrease quality in education, overall student happiness, and bigger financial burdens on students and families. Not only will the merge push Brookside with the capacity for students, but the teachers will be overwhelmed with a major increase of students they'll have to teach, causing them to be stressed and worked with no increase in pay. The current teachers at SPHS will lose their jobs that already pay insufficient. Many students have strong connections to these teachers and have found the school to be an immense role in developing who they are and what they want to do when they're older. SPHS also offers many programs guided by STC, cater creative hands-on learning that sets up students for success when they're older. The students in these programs will be severely displaced and won't know what steps to take next for their future careers because you took those programs away from them. The merging of our schools will also cancel all government-funded free and reduced lunches here for families that need it. And taking our taxes and funding the students that were already funded by the government at SPHS is absurd. It is clear that you do not care about us as students at SPHS because the charter company, Mater Academy, that's wanting to do this isn't even in the Sarasota area. They're in Miami. This will in no way benefit us or the schools. This is only a plan to make you and this company richer by evading the necessity to fund the schools through the use of our taxes.
Thank you.
Bill Hayes, followed by Jordana Osceola. No. Anthony Rizecki. Oh, Jordana. Okay.
Okay, what an event today. Good afternoon, school board members and superintendent, and a wonderful community. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jordana Osceola. I'm a member of the SAC committee, the Boundary Committee, the Wilkinson Parents Group, and the newly formed SRQ Parents United. Parents at Polytech, Brookside, Booker, and Wilkinson, and across the district are all saying the same thing. We are not being included. We understand the district is trying to get ahead of Schools of Hope pressure, but this process has moved too fast and with too little communication to our teachers and our families. We feel blindsided. We need collaboration, not reaction. So here's my ask. Let's create a parental advisory committee. 2 parents from each impacted school, teachers, staff, a district liaison, weekly to monthly open meetings with published notes. That way everyone gets their say. In closing, Sarasota can lead the state in showing what transparency looks like. We can protect our public schools with our parents, not without us. We need collaboration, not reaction, from everyone to save our public schools in our district. It started with Wilkinson, but it has reached everyone, not just in Sarasota, but across our state. Our job as parents and as board members for Sarasota County is to protect public education, our children, our families, and our communities. And we have to be proactive together to do that. So please help us come together and find.
Thank you.
Anthony Korzicki. Alana Shepard.
To the board. My name is Alina Shepard. I'm a student at Polytech and taking classes for nursing. I and many of my fellow students are missing class to come here and speak about this. I've spent 3 years dedicating myself to the curriculum, the programs, and the future I'm making for myself, but I cannot work to the best of my abilities with this change. As an incoming senior and current junior, these years are crucial for my college applications, SAT testing, and ACT testing. I and many others will suffer changing environments, teachers, and ultimately the student body will put stress and anxiety on students worried about transportation and being in an unfamiliar and uncomfortable environment. Students thrive at STC because of the intensive care the teachers put towards each of their students, and the change would take that away. The scores you want to see from this change won't be there because the students will ultimately have lost the environment that fostered what you are trying to achieve. In an effort to make things better for new students, don't destroy the futures of old students. I ask you to allow us to become the adult needed for the future and guide this new generation towards education worth fighting for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
James Finnegan. Jennifer Witzner. No. Julie London? Jennifer?
My name is Jennifer Eitzner, and I'm the parent of a student at Suncoast Polytechnical High School. My son Dylan was a student at Fruitville Elementary and Sarasota Middle School before choosing Polytech for high school. All of Dylan's friends from Fruitville and SMS chose to attend Sarasota High. Imagine yourself a 13-year-old deciding not to go to high school with your friends of 8 years, but choosing a different path because it will fit your needs so much better. Dylan has thrived at Polytech with a smaller and high-achieving student population, block scheduling, and hands-on experiences with engineering and technology. He was excited to walk over to STC to gain more experience and expertise in engineering this year. I view SPHS as a well-oiled machine, an academic success. It offers the AP Capstone Diploma as well as 35 different CTE pathways. I don't know the details of the school's history, but I imagine it was specifically designed to utilize STC and give students the opportunity to start getting hands-on experience. This proposed plan would undo the thing that makes the school unique, the proximity to amazing resources, including staff. In no way do I feel that you will be able to recreate the setup at STC and Polytech at Brookside, especially in less than a year's time. It won't happen, and you'll be letting down high schoolers who are deeply invested in this way of learning and growing in preparation for college and their careers. Perhaps you plan to bus students to SCC, the CTEs that you won't be able to provide at Brookside, but that divides the school family, complicates the scheduling of classes, CTEs, and school clubs. It wastes precious learning time and costs additional funds and transportation. The idea of creating a magnet middle school program in the likeness of Polytech has merit as a long-term plan. Perhaps this could be done as part of a K through 8 at Wilkin or in another underutilized school. But a comprehensive plan should have time to be fully researched and developed with input from parents, students, and staff. A poorly executed 6 through 12 magnet at Brookside will destroy the exceedingly successful SPHS and erode trust in this school board and the public system and lead to more students choosing charter.
Thank you.
Julie London and Leela Robinson.
Well, Team Suncoast Polytech, I hope that this isn't written in stone and we don't have to see the kids back at the next meeting because they're incredible. I came to talk about the schools of hoax and use an analogy as to how it works. My name is Julie London and I'm a millionaire. I took that information to Governor Ron DeSantis and he came up with a great idea. He said he would pay me to let my kid Bart use a spare room in your house. I asked how the state could afford that. I have the funds, I'm rich. But he said the taxpayers have it covered. I can move Bart into the spare room and he can use the entire house for whatever he needed, rent-free. If Bart wanted to watch TV, use the pool, play in the yard, it was his. I asked about food, and that would be covered by you, the homeowner. I asked who would clean his dishes and his sheets, same answer. Who would drive him to where he needed to go? That would be the homeowner who is paying for the gasoline and all car expenses. Unfortunately, that would drain resources from your family. Already underfunded and struggling, you would be able to keep up your mortgage. Your best friend Karen said, "You just need to keep up. Competition is good. If you're that great, prove it." Does this sound like a level playing field? Now imagine if not only Bart moved in, but his juvenile delinquent siblings, Anna Mae and darling little Billy Bob. When the homeowner said she needed the guest room for someone coming to visit, nope, too bad. Bart was the paid for and legal squatter. Eventually, Bart's millionaire mother was able to break the bank of the homeowner and take over the land and house. If dollars went into campaign coffers of the politicians who allowed this hostile takeover to happen. This is exactly what schools of hope do. Mr. Connor, thank you for your transparency. This is how we got to meet such amazing.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I want you to go look around at all of the Polytech kids here today, the ones who took time out of their days to fight for their school. These are high schoolers whose school pride doesn't come from sports, but from genuine love and respect for their school, teachers, and environment. And I want you to ask yourself, how many high schoolers would really go this far to fight for their school? Hi, my name is Lila Robertson. I'm a senior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School, and I have been in the Sarasota County school system my entire life, K through 12. And I strongly disagree with merging and relocation of SPHS students and staff. I transferred to SPHS my sophomore year of high school following my attendance to Riverview High, and one of the biggest eye-openers and differences is the size in classes. One of the main draws of SPHS is the smaller size. This environment encourages stronger student-to-student, student-to-teacher connection, allowing us to have a more connected and direct education that feels more personal and hands-on. Merging us with Brookside Middle School will eliminate this factor. Not to mention, Brooks campus is not designed to properly educate 7 grades of students. I attended Brookside Middle for 2 years, and in my time there, I found that even 3 grades felt overcrowded and overwhelming for the school's size. Add 4 entire grades on top of that, and there won't be enough staff or space to provide us SPHS students with the same care that allows us to thrive and grow as we do now. Clearly, things are working the way they are. SPHS is designed to set us up for success. The students are career-oriented, and the staff and connections that both SPHS and STC provide help us get there. And they do. Polytech's academic achievements and performances are second only to that of Pineview, one of the nation's top high schools. We only get to have these opportunities because of the environment that SPHS provides. This is also only made possible because of our direct access to STC. Unlike dual enrollment students, SPHS students utilize the college for more than just college classes. For example, many of our high school classes remain in STC, such as Miss Dunn and Darl Tamare's classes. Like many others, I consider SPHS to be another home, a constant and an ever.
Thank you.
Amanda Lovell.
My name is Amanda Lovell. I have 3 sons in the Sarasota County schools. My oldest is a freshman at Polytech. I held my breath the first few weeks of school this year. I'm gonna get emotional. Hoping to hear that he would come home happy after he finally was settled in. Well, the first quarter of school has ended and he still loves going to school for the first time in his life. I heard after his middle school experience, he would drop out of high school. Now he wants to be an engineer. And he helps a friend that takes automotive classes work on his car after school. You simply cannot change that kind of environment. Don't disrupt it. Last night it was noted that many students go to charter schools after elementary, then return to county high schools. To reduce this, the only option is not combining middle and high school students. Mixing 11 and 18-year-olds is not the best we can do. How about combining Wilkinson with Brookside or Southside with Brookside into a K-8 facility under one of your other options? And the landings could relocate into those facilities. Southside is historic. Furthermore, Brookside has insufficient parking for high school. There's a track there, not needed for Polytech, that could be utilized for middle school track and field and as playground space for the younger students. Last, I was told by Dr. Kemp that STC enrollment is down and that he noticed unused space when he did his tour. Enrollment will likely decline even more if the high school is relocated. I'd like to know if that happens, will you be losing tuition revenue in the college? Not to mention the burden of then having even more underutilized space. The goal is to actually grow Polytech and extend its offerings. Is it possible to reallocate some of STC into Polytech and grow in that way? I'm going to skip because I was emotional. I'm asking you to strongly reconsider this option.
Thank you.
Linda Larson, and then Astrid News.
My name is Astrid Hughes. I'm a senior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School, and I would like to address the poorly thought out proposal to co-locate Suncoast Polytechnical High School with Brookside Middle School. This decision is being considered to avoid the usage of Brookside by charter schools, but in the process fails to address the core issue of the cannibalization of the public education system by schools of hope. The first point I'd like to make is regarding the opportunities that will be lost with this proposal. The largest of these losses is Polytech career and technical education programs. Through our partnership with SDC, students are able to specialize their learning into fields in which they plan on starting careers in. By making this move to relocate campuses, SPHS would be a core part of what makes it unique among Sarasota County schools. Our students are able to graduate with full ride scholarships as licensed nurses and cosmetologists and are able to obtain certifications in engineering, biomedical sciences, and software development. Losing this would represent nothing less than a rejection of this county's youth, and by extension, the future. This is something that we as a county fundamentally cannot afford if we wish to continue to stand out within the state of Florida. This should alarm every individual in this room, allowing what is effectively a hostile takeover of a Sarasota school by an out-of-county organization, one that is first beholden to its shareholders for its students and teachers, is nothing short of a disgrace. To line the pockets of millionaires who have no investment in the future of county students represents what is nothing less than a parasite on our education system, and as such, it should be summarily rejected. To support the parasite that is Schools of Hope is a betrayal of your constituents and of my peers, and I pray that you understand the destruction of our futures that is currently under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jules Mackey. And
Good afternoon, board. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Jules Mackey, and I'm the proud parent of a high school student at Polytech. I'm here to express the deep concern over the Sarasota County District plan to relocate Suncoast Polytech High School to Brookside Middle School. While the intent may be optimize resources, this move has serious consequences for both schools. Suncoast Polytechnical is more than a building. It's a purpose-built, high-performing institution with specialized programs in engineering, design, and technology. Its proximity to Sarasota Technical College enables dual enrollment and hands-on career training, and sends a troubled message that innovation and excellence are negotiable. Recent coverage in the Herald Tribune comments that Superintendent Connor on USF's Florida Roundup highlighted growing concern over the charter school expansion and co-location plans. If our own leadership is voicing caution, why are we rushing into this plan that could dismantle 2 successful schools? Let's also consider the emotional toll. These high school students already face an insane academic and personal pressures. Disrupting their learning environment midstream adds unnecessary stress and instability. These students chose Suncoast for its specialized programs and supportive community, and we should not take that away. If we truly care about the students' success, we must provide consistency and support. This relocation plan introduces chaos at a time when students need structure and our support the most. I urge the board to pause this and reevaluate and engage with families and educators who will be directly impacted. Let's preserve Suncoast Polytech's integrity and protect Brookside's learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vanessa Turner.
Good afternoon. In 2025, I had the option to leave Sarasota County. The house across from my mother's became on the market. That same week we viewed the house, we got an acceptance letter to Polytech. We toured shortly after. We knew immediately that we would stay put in Sarasota County, both of my boys who attend here, and pursue the unique opportunity to excel academically. Despite Terry saying last night that location does not make a school, the location does make Polytech. The exceptional campus kept 2 Sarasota County students enrolled. I know to some of you, my children are just numbers, vacancy or taken seat. 2 vacancies were avoided. My student is a disheartened freshman. He feels robbed of the dream they were sold, a dream that you are stealing. We sacrifice every day as the parents of exceptional students, and those students sacrifice every day to be exceptional too. You're asking them to sacrifice even more. Your proposed quote unquote minor renovations to Brookside will in no way, shape, or form recreate the synergy that exists at Polytech and STC, and you are squandering the brightest for being the few. Reducing these children to bureaucratic jargon and fiscal terms is a disservice to the school system and the county at large. I'm sure that the students at Polytech, the ones who are bound for MIT and other exclusive institutions, could come up with a more practical and less disruptive solution than the proposal at hand. If you truly believe in meritocracy, as I believe most of you do, you must believe in another solution that doesn't dilute the quality of instruction and penalize these remarkable student body that you've heard today that has earned the resources they are currently enjoying. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Alexander Walker. Angela Weiner.
Hello, my name is Angela Weiner. I am a parent of a student at Suncoast Polytechnical. I am here today because my child chose to be at Suncoast Polytech. She was recommended by a teacher at her middle school, Woodland Middle School. In order to set her up to be at Suncoast Polytech, they joined programs like TSA, which is Technology Student Association, and they competed at regional, district, and national levels. They won awards at all of those levels, and it helped them. She did things like mechanical engineering, CAD work. She competed with robotics. She had the foundation that set her up for success at Suncoast Polytech. It didn't require her to destroy Suncoast Polytech to get those skills. It required setting up the middle school on its own to hold up its own 2 feet and get the kids where they needed to go, treating them like they are a seat and treating them like they're another brick in the wall instead of putting them first and teaching them we need to set you up for college and success after school instead of just getting you through school. My son was also at Northport High School. He felt like a number, not a name. They set him up to get through high school. They were surprised when he got into to Purdue and became a civil engineer. He did it to despite them. My daughter and all the others at Suncoast Polytech have access to equipment, teachers, and tools that they will not get if you put them in a 6 through 12 program. If you want to set up a K-8 to feed into Suncoast Polytech, great.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Sorrell-Sessa. My husband and I are medical doctors here in the community of Sarasota since 2006. My oldest son graduated from Suncoast Polytechnical High School with an AP capstone diploma last year, and he is a Bright Scholars recipient and freshman computer science major at USF Bellini College of Artificial Intelligence and Computer Science. My son is a product of Suncoast Polytechnical High School. I've never been to a school board meeting before, guys. I came here today to share with you, to advise you that the families in our communities, including myself, of course, we don't want you to lay a finger on Suncoast Polytechnical High School. Polytech is already successful, and it's doing everything that we would like the underperforming schools, right, and the low enrollment schools to do. Polytech is a top 10 school for academic excellence in the state of Florida. And therefore, why would we manipulate that in any way, shape, or form? It simply cannot be justified to do so. It just doesn't make sense. While it is number 2 in our county, second only to Pineview, I think if you step back and take a look at Polytech globally and you consider the social and the emotional well-being of the students, there really is no competition, guys. I mean, it's number 1. It's number 1 in our county. And I think that those things, the social and the behavioral and the emotional, are pieces that we cannot ignore. I'm not gonna be able to get through this. Polytech is also making money for the district, and I think it's important to understand that right now it's drawing families from the private and charter schools. So it's working. We don't need to touch it. Last night, I proposed that we consider moving the landings location to Brook.
Thank you.
Roman Sesser or Grace Mealy?
My name is Roman Sessa, and I am a junior at Suncoast Polytechnical High School. I came here to tell you today that it is an enormous mistake to make any changes to Suncoast Polytech. I came to Polytech from a private school. I am one of those students that left private school to attend Polytech because of how incredible and special that Suncoast Polytech is. I am studying animation, game design, and coding at Polytech. The makerspaces and the labs at Polytech High are not available anywhere else in our county. If it wasn't for Polytech High, I would probably still be in private school. You should not move Polytech High from the Suncoast Technical College campus. If you do this, you're going to drive students such as myself back into these private schools. Please listen to me. I'm the future of Sarasota County. Also value my opinion as a student at Suncoast Polytechnical High School. You must understand that there are many students and parents as well as teachers who could not be at this meeting today because that started at 10 o'clock in the morning and they cannot leave school or work to be here. Please understand that I'm representing hundreds of students with families with my message. We do not want you to touch Suncoast Polytechnical High School. Also, shout out to seeourpower.org and the SPHS Speech and Debate team. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Grace Mealy? Jules Rain? Elizabeth Bornstein? Tracy Lipton?
First, let me address Bridget. A couple of months ago, I read a post from Bridget in its entirety, and now I'm going to read a paragraph from said post again. Keep in mind, this is just one of her many posts denying that there will be any cuts for special needs children. I've been talking to a lot of parents of special needs kids lately, and I'm relieved to see how many of them aren't buying the nonsense being spread by mainstream media, far-left activists, and union leaders. They're working to sell the false story that scaling back, working overtime, or closing the Federal Department of Education will wipe out funding for special needs services or Title I programs. Well, that's not aging well. The Department of Special Ed just fired another 121 staff members, and according to a government website, they only had 179 staff members as of September 24. That office enforces the IDEA, the law that facilitates accommodations for 7.5 million children with special needs. Additionally, the Education Department laid off 137 people in the office that enforces civil rights laws, including complaints about disability discrimination, and 132 people in an office dedicated to elementary and secondary schools, including equal access for students. It says the old adage says, how do you know Bridget Ziegler's lying? Her lips are moving. And lastly, additionally, where is that? And lastly, we all know that Schools of Hope is on the agenda for a few of you school board members. You could say words and clutch your pearls all you want, but we know, everybody knows. Fiona McFarland is going to change our rating system so it looks like we have failing schools when in fact we don't, thus allowing for-profit school run by millionaire conglomerates to move into our schools, pay no money for rent, food, janitorial services, supplies, etc., taking away from the students that already had $45 million cut from the education in this county, and you're its biggest cheerleaders. What's going to happen if you help Schools of Hope be instated? You're going to lose your jobs. If you don't think you will, look at the precedent, i.e. Karen Rose, the Manatee County, how do I do this? Sorry. The Manatee County Commissioners, they lost when they had double the funding that the people that won had. Y'all need to remember.
Inappropriate language.
Okay. My name is Zaire Kekahuna Samdi, and I'm a graduate of Sarasota Schools. Schools of Hope was pitched as a way to improve struggling schools, but in practice are parasitical to public education. As Indian Mayor explained it at a state board of education meeting, it's like asking Lowe's to take up space and conduct business at Home Depot at no cost. To anyone with common sense, it just does not add up. Charter schools aren't inherently the issue, but Schools of Hope are. These for-profit squatters would use taxpayer-funded schools and services at no cost to the operator, with most of the targeted schools being elementary schools. Those schools being forced to co-locate with older students increases the risk of bullying and sexual violence for those younger students. Hope operators could name underused schools, but the language does not clearly define underused or the distinction between underused versus underperforming, putting multiple of our cherished and excelling schools in Sarasota at risk. Local oversight and community input will be bypassed. And to pass these practices off as simply competition and an incentive for our public schools to perform better is misleading. Our public schools will have to compete with their hands and their feet tied. Our concerns have been named since our community went to the Capitol in April and spoke against SB 1708, a bill expanding the operation and policy language of Schools of Hope. We were told by Senator Pizzo and Kataliud that us Sarasota residents would not have to worry because this is something that would only affect Miami-Dade County schools, which doesn't make it any better, but we have come to learn that all of Florida is at risk. I align with the feeling of abandonment when it comes to our district's response or the lack thereof. And although I appreciate the community meetings now being held and the creative brainstorming to relieve our district of the weight of this issue, once again, Sarasota County Schools District is working reactively and not proactively. I ask that guys pass an official press release and a statement and to continue to try to work proactively instead of reactively.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Cass Doherty, and today I am very tired. I think it's safe to say we all think this new meeting time is a little ridiculous, and you've seen it's more than a little problematic. The students are more qualified to speak here at these meetings than almost everyone, and school started for them, well, at the time of writing this, hours ago. I think that if a student has to leave school just in order to attend one of the only forms of civic participation available to them, especially when the decisions made in the room they're barred from affects them more than almost anybody else, then that's indicative of something having to change. That is not the transparency we deserve as a community. It is a wonderful thing to have so many students so invested in attending local government, and their voices are so important to not shut out right now. You know that we're facing a corporate charter takeover of our school district, as are many others around the state. They are taking over as parasites on public education, a vehicle for privatization, a siphon of our district's resources. You know they're coming. I'd like more open discussion and planning on that instead of restricting access to these meetings. I'd like to know what I can do to help. I'd like to know what steps you're taking to protect our campuses. I'd like to know what you're planning to do to challenge this overreach from Tallahassee. If you'll take a public stand against hope, what steps you'll take to protect your staff and programs during the transition. If you've completed feasibility studies on these proposed changes, and I'd like to know why parents weren't consulted in the early planning stage and what you'll do to keep them in the loop from now on. We have issues right now that are more important that we need to hear from our students about. Don't restrict them from attending. Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Long live Polytech.
Thank you.
Laura Oddly.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Oadley. I am the parent of 2 young adults that live out of the state of Florida. They have their roots here in Sarasota County in the school system, starting with Wilkinson Elementary. I am concerned about the impediments that you are putting in front of students today. Your responsibility is to the children in our schools, their parents, and to teachers. Yet, by moving your meeting time to 10 a.m., you've effectively closed the door to their input. This is really shamefully wrong, and I ask you to please change your meeting time to where it was previously. Additionally, your responsibility is to spend public tax dollars for public use, period. I expect you to do everything possible to stop the use of our public schools and their services by for-profit entities. I perceive that any inaction in this regard would be a failure of your duty to protect local school resources. Even though this theft of public dollars has been legislated by the state, I'm asking you to please resist all takeovers from for-profit organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Rosen. Michelle Posey.
I'm Michelle Posey. I want to first address Superintendent Connor, because back when we were getting a new superintendent and we all had a voice in that, I want to tell you, honestly, you weren't my first choice. And I am so proud of the way you've handled things. You bridged a gap in the community with people that maybe you weren't the first choice, and you made us realize that we are a family with you. We have your ear, and a lot of the issues that you're dealing with right now with the school closures and the loss of attendance, I feel like is a seed that was sown long before you came here. And I'm talking 7-8 years ago. Anybody who's been in this boardroom consistently, whether the times were 3 p.m. or 6 p.m., getting out of here at midnight sometimes, we know that trust really was something that was defied in this room back in 2019, 2020. And I found it really odd, Mr. Edwards, that you would mention how trust you think is so important. Because I wonder if it's like trust, kind of like you said you thought the federal government sent something out about faith and about the celebration of the 250th anniversary for our country, and maybe that's why these items came forward on our agenda. Is that similar to the Democrat Party of Sarasota sending out an email saying, please force a mask mandate, and you jumping, even though you have no medical knowledge of that at all, and we were under a governor's executive order not do that. It's kind of fun. And I don't understand if you're really for truth and transparency, because I came to your public meeting last night and was forbidden from recording that and broadcasting it. Everybody would like to know what's being said. So if you're really for truth and transparency, I'd like to know how you, as a duly elected board member, can conduct business out of the sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Austin Schweitzer?
Hello, my name is Austin Schweitzer. I'm a former alumni at Suncoast Polytechnical High School, and I came here to talk about the future of Polytech. Polytech is a small school, 600 to 750 at its max capacity, connected directly to a college, and is one of the few schools that has a dedicated animation and gaming program. So my question is, why should we change anything? These students here, they're here because they love their school. They're here because they're proud of their school. I'm proud of my school. We have a bunch of working teachers at Polytech. We are number 2 in the district right now, for only being by Pineview. I understand that you guys think trying to help us. I understand you want to protect us from the charter schools and stuff, but we really need to reconsider. These students, they've worked hard. They don't deserve to have their future taken away from a temporary problem. We need to reconsider. We need to pause and just reconsider. I love my school. I'm very proud of these kids. And I just want the best future for Polytech. And the best future is to keep things the way they are. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Martin Hyde.
Okay, well, I have a kid still in this school system. What you're facing in terms of charter schools is not a charter school problem. It's a you problem. 7,000 plus in Sarasota are already enrolled in charter schools, with another 5,000 in private schools, and 3,000 are homeschooling. That's over 25% of parents rejecting your system, and you need to address that. In 2004, Blockbuster had 4,500 stores in the US. Now they have 1 left in Oregon. Netflix adapted their services and now have a market value of $507 billion. Netflix listened to their customers. You are presently the educational equivalent of Blockbuster. I don't want culture wars. I want a massive improvement on the 25% plus of third graders in Sarasota who can't read at grade level. You build new schools without building confidence in Sarasota parents as to your competence. The so-called ZEM team ran claiming to have answers. At some point, though, 3 years later, the rubber has to meet the road. And after 3 years, ZEM is clearly running on empty promises and flat tires. I'd urge one final act from the Z and the M left, which is to not run in 2026, because you've already lost my support, and frankly, that doesn't bode well for your chances to win.
Thomas Riches.
Well, my name is Thomas Rakis. I've worked all my life at many jobs. I've worked in the security field, healthcare, and even the mall. One thing I've found universal is the requirement to work on holidays, Sundays, during church services, and nights when children and family are waiting at home where I'd rather be. We supposedly live in a democracy where our votes count. We all know this town is stuck with 2 school board members who we have either demanded to leave or voted out, but have been forced upon us by our governor's callousness. This makes it hard for the people's wishes as well as the balance of the board's voting majority to support the children and parents' wishes. But it doesn't change the fact that this school board is here for those parents and children in the Sarasota community. The blatant change in scheduling makes it impossible for concerned parents and students to attend it is despicable and undemocratic and an unacceptable tactic for any side in the social war. It affects our children's education. The board members are paid to attend a few hours of meetings a month, a schedule that every working person would appreciate. The least the board could do is accommodate the wonderful unpaid parents, students, and community members who make Sarasota a great place to live and go to school by having 2 meetings a month at different days and times to accommodate the community's work and school and work schedules to give their input. Thank you. Also, fix the public schools. Do not sell them out to these schools of hope parasites to destroy them. Protect public education. And leave Polytech alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Hervick. Richard Arena. Lisa Frederick.
Hello. Well, I had good morning on my sheet, but we are in afternoon time now here. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Frechette, and I am speaking to you today as a former public school special education teacher who for the past 15 years has been working with Sarasota County students privately. When issues become complex, teachers often ask the simple question to gain clarity. What's best for the student or students? With the Schools of Hope in mind, I'll focus on 2 simple questions. 1, is it best for students to be educated by trained teachers who hold state certifications? I think we'd obviously say yes. 2, is it best to disrupt a student's high-performing school by allowing a for-profit organization to step into their space? Obviously no. I hope. Schools of Hope teachers are not necessarily required to hold a Florida State teacher certification. Schools of Hope will disrupt learning in our A and B rated Sarasota schools by co-locating or even taking over their space. These 2 Schools of Hope issues alone, sketchy teacher certification and the disruption of an A/B rated Sarasota school will water down or potentially dummy down the education of our Sarasota students that they're receiving currently. Is this best for what's best for our students here in Sarasota? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sebastian Martinez.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Oftentimes, this board, to be specific, Robin Marinelli, Karen Rose, and Bridget Ziegler, hide from accountability by saying that this isn't a school board issue. But as someone who's seen that same dodging script play out, this time I'd like to get out ahead and then explain to the community and you as a board that when it comes to Schools of Hope, you are not by any stretch of the imagination powerless. You should not only be calling Fiona McFarland, Joe Gruters, and James Buchanan and getting a commitment, and if they don't make a commitment to fight for us in Tallahassee, then take on a public political fight, pressure them. Organize your community, host town halls, forums, literally anything. I also want it to be clear, the change of meeting times to 10 a.m. was proposed by Robin Marinelli, which was a mistake. And that was fine because it would have been just one meeting that would have been at 10 a.m. to see how it works. Then Karen Rose motioned to extend the 10 a.m. meeting starts through the end of the year. And it was wonderful to see so many people turn out to this meeting today, and I'm deeply excited to see all the students that came from Polytech that came to this meeting. But the fact is, those students shouldn't have to miss school to come speak to their elected officials. I think that's pretty common sense. And it's not like Robin, Karen, and Bridget didn't know what was coming, so don't ever let them convince you. Also, to students and community members, please never let this board majority placate you. As individual board members, you could and should be actively doing interviews, educating the community. This board led the state to protect funding for IB, AP, and ACE programs. Why can't you do the same for Schools of Hope? This isn't a left versus right issue. This is a commons issue that you should all be fighting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cullen Steger. Anya Dennison. Casey Jewell.
Hello. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Hi. Bridget. You keep saying this is about setting a tone, restoring patriotism, rebuilding culture, but what you're actually doing is recentering power, using religion as a tool to define who belongs and who doesn't. You talk about erosion. You talk about erosion of patriotism, erosion of prayer, as if public schools fell apart because we stopped making people pray. But what's really eroding is trust. Trust that this board represents everyone, not just those who look like you, worship like you, or vote like you. If this policy were truly about solemn reflection, you wouldn't need to frame it as moral restoration or national renewal. You wouldn't need to talk about courage and quiet majorities. Because courage isn't about performing piety, it's about protecting pluralism. And pluralism is what you are dismantling under the guise of tradition. You said this is legal. Maybe so. But legality isn't the same as integrity. There is a long, ugly history of using heritage and tradition to justify exclusion, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I have to say this plainly, when someone stood up earlier and said, why are we being called white Christian nationalists? I'm not a Christian nationalist. I'm a Christian and I love my country. That is the textbook definition, folks, of white Christian nationalism. That's not my interpretation. That's the literal ideology. Okay, it's the belief that America is defined by Christianity, that patriotism and faith are one and the same, and that the country is somehow pure when those identities merge. That is white Christian nationalism, word for word. And Bridget, when you echo those same talking points, when you say this vote will reverberate across decisions going forward earlier, you're not leading a school district, you're leading a movement to blur the line between faith and government. That's not leadership, that's indoctrination dressed up as governance. You can't say this isn't about religion, but your rhetoric exposes the truth. You're using prayer as a political weapon and calling it unity. You're using patriotism as a shield.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Alex Doherty.
Hello, board. My name is Alex Doherty, and I'm a student at Suncoast Polytech High School and a previous student of Brookside. I've been in this school system my whole life. As a senior, I won't be here next year to see what Polytech becomes, but I have friends who are juniors and sophomores, and their future depends entirely on what you decide to do. Not only that, but I and every single other student who signed out of school to be here care deeply about our school. By the way, the fact that we have to sign out of school to be at a meeting that decides the fate of our school is ridiculous. We should not have to do that. But anyway, we are proud to be Polytech students. It has helped us thrive. It has taught us all we can learn, and it has helped to set us up to flourish in our chosen career paths. Our school is one of the best, so why would you choose to change what works? The solution is not good for Brookside either. The year I spent there showed me how crowded it is. The numbers might say otherwise, but my experiences of being shoved off the sidewalk might tell me that Brookside does not have the infrastructure to support 3 grades, let alone 7. I understand the terrible threat the Schools of Hope program brings to our county, but this is a terrible solution.
Thank you. That ends our public comment. So now we'll get input from final thoughts from school board members. Ms. Barker?
Thank you. Thank you, Polytech students and families and parents for being here. I really appreciate it. The thing that struck me today about this meeting, besides, being a little bit chaotic, was that the folks here care passionately about their school. And that is really, really, really good news, especially when there is rhetoric across the country that public schools are failing, that they're not doing their jobs correctly. Well, I would submit to those folks that we have a whole room full of people who are here all day long to tell us otherwise. So thank you for that. That said, there was another parent who commented about our district level attendance policy. And as a parent, this is something actually that I have been wondering about as well. Sometimes I'll submit an attendance note, and at one school it'll be approved and at the other school it won't. So I think particularly moving forward, if we are going to stick with these daytime meetings, we need to have a real discussion about our district-wide attendance policy and how do we allow students to participate, staff to participate. That's an important conversation that we need to have if we're going to maintain this meeting time, which I do not think is a good idea, but I understand that I may not be in the majority on that. I would also like to publicly challenge every single one of our local representatives to come and meet with these students, these families who really care deeply about public education, about their public school, as they're getting ready to head into this legislative session where we are asking to put guardrails on this Schools of Hope legislation. It is something that no one asked for, that our community does not want. And I would challenge those folks that represent us that they need to hear your voices as well. We are absolutely facing unprecedented challenges, and that is going to mean unprecedented solutions. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I can tell you as one board member, not only am I willing to fight to protect our public schools from these predatory charter operators, I'm also committed to ensuring that whatever the outcome is, that what we offer to our students is of the highest level, and that whatever we can do to preserve the safe environment that you all have discussed today, the environment that's free from bullying, that is small, that honors you and your individuality. I, as one board member, am committed to doing everything possible to make sure that that remains the case, regardless of what happens going forward. But I want to thank you all very much for being here and sticking out with us. And I'm very hopeful because this community, man, folks don't see us coming, little Sarasota, but we show up. So thank you.
Mr. Edwards?
I thought you were just going down.
No, I'm going by what's on my list.
I see. Let me start with a couple of housekeeping issues before we talk about Polytech and the Schools of Hope. One thing I want to point out from our last meeting, I read the tape and saw the tape a few times. I was recognized, and you cannot unrecognize someone through Robert's rules. So I realize that I irritate you, but we have to find a way because we have a lot of challenges to talk about and work together. And so I'm willing to try and be more of a team player, but I'm confused about the way that I get treated on this dais. So that I want to put to the side. The second place I'm going to go is a place that I'm uncomfortable, and you'll probably disagree, but I am not uncomfortable with the Team America clubs at all. In fact, when they came up, I thought they were a great idea. But what I am uncomfortable about is the drive of a school board member and her husband to recruit people into that environment, which to me 100% drives politics. And I don't see school board members driving chess club or driving the lacrosse club, but I am very uncomfortable, and I'm getting emails and phone calls from parents that are uncomfortable with these particular school board members being involved. So, Mr. Connor, can you please reiterate our policy on how clubs get started? And I think our principals, I know you've been doing some of this already. I've had conversations with you along the way, and that's why I'm comfortable asking you to reiterate that policy and let everybody know that we're on top of that.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity to share. I know there's been a spike in interest in club activities in our schools lately, and I think that's a great thing. We have almost 300 clubs in our 7 high schools, which I think is phenomenal. You know, our core mission, education, but we also want to make sure that students have outlets to express themselves in their interests, and we do so through clubs, before school, after school, in a variety of ways. So it was a good time as we started to see an interest in clubs forming here in recent weeks to just reiterate all of the federal law, the school board policy, everything related to how we establish clubs, how they're to orchestrate their activities within the clubs, and who's involved in that process. And so we spent significant time with principals to ensure that they understood what the law says about establishing clubs. And we want to make sure that all clubs are student initiated and driven by students with a custodial supervisor. So that would be what we would call a club sponsor at the school. That is an employee of the school, could be an instructional staff member, could be a classified staff member, but we would have them in a custodial role, not necessarily driving the daily activities, but could be used as an advisor for the students to get approvals for notices of meetings and activities that they may want to plan. And so reminding our schools just that process and procedure is really important to keep everyone compliant, to make sure that everyone's rights are adhered to and students can enjoy that. So that's the main thing, is adult sponsors serving more in a custodial role. Students are driving the activities. They're creating the officers' positions. They're creating the bylaws for the club, or maybe they're adopting bylaws from other organizations, and then the activities being initiated through a student-driven process. And that, I think, at scale is being done. And if there are ever times where we felt that there may be barriers to the establishment of those clubs, having administrators get involved and be notified to make sure that those guardrails are in place, that things are moving along, because we don't need impediments for students to establish those clubs, and we don't need an overreach of adults in those clubs as well. We want to make sure that the true sense of the word student clubs is taken into account for that. So we're working through that process each and every day, and our schools have really brought a lot of consistency to that process in the recent weeks. Does that answer your question, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Connor. I also want to say that I have no skin in the game one way or the other for those clubs, other than I'm grateful that students are civic-minded, that in fact show up and care and are part of that process. And I view that those clubs to enable that, and perhaps even have conversations that might not be able to be had in the classroom. So I'm all for it, and I think it's great. I just want to make sure that they are student-led and not interfered with. Now on to Schools of Hope and Polytech. I have been talking, and I think you saw at the workshop that this rollout that you're going to be seeing this week is not something that is foreign, at least to Mr. Connor and myself, which was why I was asking, when are we going to see phase 2 and phase 3? I think the heat has been turned on from the Schools of Hope legislation, and quite frankly, I don't hear a lot of positive support from our delegation to fight back Schools for Hope. That doesn't mean we shouldn't continue to fight, that we shouldn't continue to call. I think I've been to Fiona's office. I've been talking to other legislators, and I've been talking to legislators across the state on both sides of the aisle to try and create momentum. The other thing I will tell you is I was on a call Thursday with fellow school board members around the state, and we're building a parents coalition. I think many of you saw on my social media page. If you're interested in joining a parent coalition, you can reach out to me. My email address, thomas.edwards@sarasotacountyschools.net, and I will connect you to those resources, because I did hear, which is true, that the AP, IB, ACE programs were resurrected. That conversation was 100% student-led after Sarasota put their paper out. Parents grabbed a hold of that and around the state and rallied Tallahassee. So the last thing that I want to say about the big plan that you've seen or that you're starting to hear about from this school board member seat, I view that as the initial rollout, the same conversation like we talked about at Wilkinson. And we had another 1 or 2 meetings after the initial rollout, and there was community engagement and there was community input. So the phase of the conversations that we're going through this week, from my point of view, are just that, phase 1. And we are faced with a challenge. We are faced with an unfortunate legislation that is unfortunately timely, that puts us all at risk, especially our students, our families, taxpayers, all of the investments that we've made into buildings. I think we all can, well, I shouldn't say all, but most of us can agree that that legislation is unfair, and that the big coalition that we would, at least I would like to build, are parents reaching back to Tallahassee and asking for a pause on this legislation. Not its elimination, but a pause, so that folks get a chance, particularly Sarasota gets a chance to really examine all of our options and making sure that we're making sound decisions. I heard that today more often than not. How can you rush into this? Lastly, I want to say I'm grateful to the community for being here at 10 o'clock. I know it was an imposition. I'm grateful for the students of Polytech for caring and loving. I swear to you, when I go to the Sarasota Opera House for your graduations, it is such a special time, because you feel the love and the bond that happens between the students. And then when you're in the lobby, it's all of the families, and they're all friends with each other. So I get that what your issues are and what your questions are. And if I could, and maybe that's part of what we're trying to figure out, if I could bottle that and put it in every single school, that's what we're trying to figure out. I think that's what Mr. Connor's trying to say. How do we leverage that and make sure that that kind of environment happens for all of our students? So I appreciate you being here, and I will close with, I am adamantly opposed to 10 o'clock meetings. We are not the county commission. We are not the state legislature. We are a school district, and we should be available to students and to teachers and to working families.
Ms. Rose?
Thank you, Ms. Marinelli. Today reflects remarkable participation, and I want to reinforce that I have spent my career, and I continue to be highly invested in the programs that we offer in this district, particularly when you look at schools that have empty buildings and are significantly under-enrolled. That's something I think we need to look at deeper. There's often a lot, sometimes this boardroom can present different messages with different venues. And I'm glad to hear you and listen to you. I want to be cautious. I am cautious of the Schools of Hope. Certainly is something that is being addressed and being addressed appropriately and respectfully. I'm cautious with the constant presentation of this district is in crises, that there's a hostile takeover, that there is a cancer. I look at basic instruction, reading, math, all of the content that we are responsible for, and that takes insurmountable focus every minute of every day. And I ask myself, are we on focus of our actual mission of teaching students daily and assuring that our third graders can read? There's very little conversation on that. I have to say that I was very impressed listening to the quotes coming from the Manatee County, the new superintendent who actually, her career started here in Sarasota County. And when this was presented at her board and her staff reacted, as I would expect them to do, she asked her staff, to stay focused. She told them what she needed from them, and that was to stay focused on instruction every single day. That was her request. I'm not sure that I hear that coming from this board, the importance of our daily mission every single day in ensuring that our students can read. That's where it starts at third grade. So I want to maintain that focus on progress monitoring and the great things that are happening with our staff. Also, the Manatee County Superintendent said to her staff, while you're staying focused on the mission and what we need to do every day, she also told them that I superintendent, will focus on what is happening with Schools of Hope with my executive staff. So I think that's important to be said, because if we're going to maintain the academic growth in this district and the focus is required daily to teach. I was a principal for 14 years here. I was a teacher for 12 and a half years. I know what it takes to stay focused and move achievement. And again, this is not a crisis. It has to be addressed. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And lastly, I'm compelled. I often stay quiet when things are happening on this board, and I choose not to today. Over my time in this district, I've regularly heard board members attack other board members, accusing them of things. And more often than not, it is exactly what they themselves are doing. And, you know, as asking for support, I encourage you to be respectful. I do. I encourage you to be respectful. That's part of civility. That's part of being heard. I thank this board for the work they're doing. I thank the superintendent for the tremendous amount of energy that he and his staff are putting in to making sure that we stay focused. Thank you.
Mrs. Ziegler?
Thank you very much. I know it's been a long day. I appreciate everyone coming. I've got to figure out where I want to start because there's a couple items, but I'll start with Polytech. I will say I think Polytech is such a special school. I speak of it regularly. I have brought many people from the business community to Poly over the years that I've served because it's kind of the secrets that many people don't know about. And one part of me thinks that it should never have been a secret. We want more people to know about it, but there is something very unique about that small school. It serves a wonderful purpose, and so I feel very much, especially hearing from the students. I want to applaud so many of you who approach this in a respectful way and in a powerful way. That, by the way, this is a great lesson. The way you advocate is equally as important as to the message and what you're advocating for, because it is allowed to be heard. It resonates much stronger. So I hope that's some food for thought for those of you today. But and to the parents who share those stories, that it's a school that many people have to choose to get in and then also be accepted in. And so I believe that when we're in a competitive situation as we are right now, it is important to evaluate this in a way that makes sense, that's not pushed against a wall, making feeling as though we're pushed against the wall, and to preserve things that have done well and that are successful. That's a draw. And so I think that as this was an initial discussion, I understand that more conversation needs to happen, but I do want to share my personal opinion of Polytech and the unique nature that I think it serves, and the impact of and focus of preserving that. So I look forward to those future conversations. I do think that taking Polytech out of it, but the whole aspect of the district and the capacities in Wilkinson, and there's been, as I've said before, there are conversations as fiduciaries, which was mentioned many times, as a board member. If you have to look at this in a lot of different aspects, there are human beings and student academics and success is absolutely the number one mission of our job, and that's what taxpayers fund this for. So I think that's our responsibility in trying to make good business decisions. At the same time, we understand the impact that it has on individual lives. That all being said, I would be remiss again, and I think I said this earlier, I'll say it again, a speaker so eloquently stated this earlier, but there is a responsibility for us and anyone who's in the public schools across the country and the state dealing with school hope, but the enrollment piece is real. People are leaving traditional public schools for a variety of reasons. Homeschool has been an exponential growth for the 10 years I've been here, continues to grow. What we are not asking enough is why. Why are they leaving? What are they going to? Why are they not staying here? And that is, I think it is a problem that we will never solve if we don't have those frank conversations. We're at a point where we have a branding issue. As I've mentioned, there's extraordinary amazing educators in the district. We have amazing programs. There is a lot of things that we do really well, and I know that is why many people move to Sarasota County. However, there are things that hurt it. When you have trans activists with a bullhorn outside of our school board meetings, that hurts. It's a brand issue. I'm sorry. You may not want to hear it, but it's a fact. So we need to be very focused and very honest about what's happening. When you talk about a hostile takeover, to be honest, the hostile takeover was the cultural aspect that completely rooted into all of these schools across the country, including Sarasota County, and put academics by the wayside. So I applaud my colleague, Mrs. Rose, for highlighting the importance of whatever's coming down from the federal government, from Tallahassee, whatever. It is our responsibility to support the superintendent to make sure that they're focused on the important work of academics, of every student, ensuring that they are being successful in their academics, that we're making sound financial business decisions, and we're also listening to our families to ensure that they understand what's happening here, so they have honest clarity, but we're also listening to them to provide them in the environment, a learning environment for their children to be successful. The environment is the number one thing that people seek when they're looking for a school for their children. It is a fact. You could have a beautiful McMansion school, but if that culture is off, people won't go to it. So I know this as a parent who is a Sarasota County school parent who had to choose alternatively because I had the majority of the board that made poor decisions for my child, but I would love nothing more to have them go back. Polytech, by the way, was one of those top schools that we'd be considering. So I have skin in this game too. I get it. But we have to be honest about it. And if we're not going to be honest about it, you'll never solve the problem. So I will continue to be honest about that, and hopefully we can have those tough discussions. But the more we introduce things that are well outside the realm of academics, the more people are going to have more concerns about putting their children here. I want to address something that Mr. Edwards said, because it actually ties in well. First of all, you made statements that are inaccurate. So I am not involved with any promotion of Club America, which is Point USA, but I am very excited that that's happening. I have had many conversations with the superintendent, because I think what's really discouraging is the kind of, not every school, but there's been pushback from certain members of staff. The superintendent knows about it, and when I've been made aware of it, I send it over to him. What's even more concerning is that it seems to be in certain schools that there are organized efforts to deter the growth of this school or the growth of the club and the growth and to kind of do, there's a variety of cyberbullying that I've just become aware of, and I will continue to send that to the superintendent. But when my husband does what he does, he's not a school board member, and I'm not involved in that. So you can take your issue up with him. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that every club in the involvement and what takes place for that to be launched is equally done across the board. I believe the superintendent saw very early on, because it was happening across the country, the high interest of Club America, which is Turning Point's club, so that they convened a principal meeting to ensure that every principal had clarity on what that process was. And I thank you for that, because so that wasn't any unnecessary roadblocks or barriers. There were some things that occurred. Some of it was miscommunication. Some was a misinterpretation. Some of it was intentional. Again, that's the superintendent's management position to oversee and make sure that that's not happening. But I think that I'm glad that students have clubs that are focused on, I personally believe in the Club America's mission. I'm glad to see that interest. But I take serious issue with what I'm starting to see now with bullying and harassment or what trolling is what I think is what it's called. So we went through a recent policy change that all students mean all. This will be a great example for us to highlight that all students deserve to be free from bullying and harassment. And I will hold the accountable that the superintendent will make sure that anyone that is participating in any of that activity will absolutely be held accountable. Finally, I'll talk about the 10 a.m. meetings. So again, I think that it is a challenge to hit a time where you can get everyone from the public to come. People have a variety of schedules. We've had 6 o'clock meetings. People would get frustrated because they would rather be with their children serving dinner or sports or what have you. We've had 3 o'clock meetings. We've heard feedback from people saying that was very difficult because you're dealing with school drop-off and what have you. So there is always going to be a challenge. To be honest, our job is to have a business meeting and ensure we're accessible to the public. I have a very good track record of supporting that aspect over the years on the board, because it's been a variety of iterations that was made so that it was not accessible to the public. So I believe it's important we continue to have them streamed. We continue to have them online. We continue to have public comment accessible. I think there's a variety of things that we're having community meetings, but I think we have to evaluate what's happening and what's working. This is the first time we've done 10 a.m. and we had a lot of people come up. Now, obviously, I know it's specific to an issue, but I think that's something that as a board we can continue to evaluate, but ensuring that we're always keeping an accessibility so that you know what's going on is critical. And there is no set time that will work for everyone, that will make everyone happy. I think it's all about making sure we're transparent about what's happening, that you can understand what's happening, and that you have a mechanism in which you are able to speak to the board so that we can hear your feedback. And so with that, I yield the floor.
Thank you. I also want to thank everybody for coming, whether it was this morning or this afternoon, and all the comments. I would like to address the attendance policy. When I was still working for the district, the attendance policy fell under me under student services, and I don't believe there's been many changes to it. The district, the attendance policy is for every school. Where the difficulty lies is how each school implements that. And Mr. Connor, we've had many conversations about how we have policies, but schools interpret them and hand them differently. So that's where, if this whole attendance, because there's real specific of what's unexcused, what's excused, and then some schools follow that, some don't. So that's where the issue will lie. That's not something that I'm going to get involved in. That is something that is Superintendent Connor. I can bring those issues to his attention, but I'm not going to be the one that makes any of the changes. It's going to be implementing the policy that we vote on and approve. So that's one thing. Also, when we're talking about the schools of hope, I find it very interesting, depending on somebody's perception, that 3 of us don't do anything and 2 do. And if you go back, when we first started talking about the schools of hope, and I was kind of surprised by it, but even Mrs. Ziegler did not like how it was rolled out, that we needed to have guardrails. So all 5 of us were in agreement of how we were blindsided by the schools of hope. But people conveniently in the audience make it 3 against 2, which is really unfortunate, because there's not a person up here that does not support public school. I'm a product of a public school, and I think I turned out okay. You might not think that, but I think I did, and my mom and dad did a hell of a good job. So, with that being said, I can only speak for myself, but I have talked or texted with every one of our legislatures, and they are working on trying to put some guardrails. But I am not going to go and tear the whole place up and not even give them a chance to work on what they passed and what DOE put in there. But again, I have asked this many times, and it's crickets. Why are our schools losing enrollment? Why? And I know why, because I've been watching. Excuse me. You guys out there say you want to work with us, but as soon as anybody says something that you don't agree with, you moan, you clap, you do all kinds of things. So don't tell me you want to work with me, and then just because you don't agree with what I say, I'm disrespected, because I don't do that to you. I listen. Many of you have some very good points. And I also, when it comes to the vouchers, Mr. Connor is working with directly with DOE to try to get that fixed, of the people that say they want the vouchers and they end up sending their kids back to public school. He's working on that. But people just keep bringing it all up, and we're not doing anything, and our superintendent's not doing anything, the board's not doing anything. Well, we are. You don't always see it. And I do want, Mr. Edwards, I have tried for almost 3 years, but I have to say, I have never encountered anybody in my years that I've been on this earth that says one thing, but your actions mean another. You personally have called me out on things. You tell me you want to work, but it's still the same thing. Either your way or no way. You're always the victim, and all of us are doing something but you have a wonderful gift with words, and I mean that sincerely. You have a wonderful gift, and probably one of the people that I've ever encountered that has such a wonderful gift with words, but you twist them. And you're not always nice to the women on this board.
Yes, right.
I'm sorry. That's how I perceive things. Excuse me. It's not your turn to talk. So with that being said, I will always try to work with you, with every single board member. Mrs. Barker has said before, Robin, I love you, and we couldn't be more opposite, but we get along and we talk about things here. We don't ever talk about anything that we're going to vote on, because I never see Mrs. Barker unless it's a school function. And that's the way it should be. We should be able to talk and disagree and agree. We might not always vote the same, but that's the way it should be. We should never vote 100% for something. There's always going to be differences, and it shouldn't be political. And on another note, last Saturday I was invited to Sky Ranch by Mr. Matt Palmer to see the garden being set up, Mr. Green Jeans, which it was so fun to watch these little kids, I don't even know how to do it, put the rivets in, the bins that they're going to be planting their little crops in. So once again, I do appreciate Mr. Palmer and his Mr. Green Jeans, because he's in many of our elementary schools and wants to work with this district and does work with this district on the agricultural piece, which is so important. And lastly, I would like to thank, even though they're not here, the Pineview students that came this morning to advocate for the torch. Their presentations, their wordings, they were so spot on and respectful. They did not raise their voice. They did not make disparaging remarks to the board. And I just think that shows the maturity and how they worked with the board to get changes that they wanted for the torch. So I want to commend them. I want to commend their teachers. I want to commend their advisors, because you obviously work very closely with how to do public comments. So thank you. And Mr. Connor, thank you for all the work you're trying to do in this very, very difficult situation of addressing our schools. You inherited so much. Budgets, now this crisis, which none of us really, I mean, we knew enrollment was down, but who would ever have thought we would be in a place where we are now? So I appreciate for you and your staff, everybody that's working for the betterment of this district and to keep it a viable, exciting, challenging, A-rated district. So thank you. So we are ready for adjournment, but the next monthly work session is scheduled for Tuesday, November 4th at 2025 at 10 o'clock. And the next monthly board meeting is scheduled for November 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Oh,
Everyone's yay.
Mr. Edwards, vote. Yes?
Yes.
Would you? Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. Barker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.